Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Getting ready for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Panthers up 2-0 in the series. What are your thoughts on how we've got here in this affair?
Well, Edmonton probably had the best shot in Game 1 and allowed to get away on them. Goaltending can win you a lot of hockey games, and I wouldn't go so far as to say Sergei Bobrovsky stole one in Game 1. The Oilers were good, but they weren't good enough. It's the bottom line, and they were definitely last 4 periods of the last game plus have been owned by the Florida Panthers. So I don't know if there's such thing as momentum when you have such crazy time off between games like they've had. Tonight, it's all on the line tonight. It's you lose, you're in deep, deep trouble. And I would expect Edmonton to throw their best at them tonight, whatever that is, if they can do it. But they're also playing a pretty good hockey team in Florida that can take the wind out of your sails in a hurry, too. It's just how they play.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
So what was it like coaching the Panthers in the 90s at the old Miami Arena? And he said it was in a bad end of town, and the police told him, when you come to a red light around the arena, don't stop. Keep rolling through because they'll come and steal your car. And he was driving an 86 Toyota Corolla. So he said he came up to a red light, and he didn't stop. He rolled through the red intersection, and some local yelled at him, "Don't worry, we wouldn't steal that piece of garbage."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Producer Clark. Coming in hot on a Football Friday with some hockey to get to right off the hop. Going to be ending the week on a high. Coming up today, Jim Barker from the CFL on TSN. Hamilton Tiger Cats and CFL alumni Jason Riley joining us to talk about his book, Taming a Mad Dog. I'm excited about that in hour 2. Got a big CFL weekend coming up. Stanley Cup Final is going to be dominating some discussion here. Let's bring in the Moosies in Toronto, and I don't know about you, Darren, but here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, where we're broadcasting the program from the Golden Ticket Sports Center, it is an absolute perfect day weather-wise. You know that I had a mini rant because I roamed the golf course here, which is attached to this, and the golfers were looking at me like, "What are you doing out here in our territory?" I'm like, "Did you just worry about yourself and hit the ball?" Other than that, it was just so nice you want to be outside. But I can't be outside because the golfers got to have fun. How you doing, sir? What do you got? What's on your mind?
I'm doing great. It's a gorgeous day here, too. Maybe it's settling in everywhere. We had a big thunder and lightning storm last night, which kind of mirrored what was going on in Ottawa at the Red Blacks Blue Bombers game last night. But no, it's good. And I want to plug this. There's a I don't know if you heard this. There's a new CFL documentary about Andrew Harris that's coming out in the near future, and they're having a red carpet premiere tonight. And I got invited, so I'm going to be heading downtown and going to the premiere of that. I'll put it on our social feeds tonight.
Good stuff. I love to hear it. Hey, listen, it's on my commentary right now at rodpeterson.com and on Sask Radio. What a wild night in sports, and you know what? Let's talk about it. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll get down to business. 902-518-3033, the number to text us on the Sober Carpenter text line throughout the program. So it's the big story. Before we get into the football, because that's going to be the balance of the show today, 90% or more. The Edmonton Oilers are in must-win mode after dropping a 3rd straight game to Florida in the Stanley Cup Final. The Panthers hung on for a 4-3 victory last night in Edmonton as they jumped out to a 4-1 lead in the second period. They can complete a 4-game sweep Saturday night at Rogers Place. Florida's never won the Stanley Cup. Oil haven't won since 1990. Here's my deal. I was broadcasting baseball last night here in Moose Jaw. I listened to the first period of the Stanley Cup Final Game 3. Wasn't that exciting. No real goals until Reinhart scored late in the first, and it just I just said what happened in the game. I'm seeing Twitter today. Somebody just wrote, a fan said, worst Stanley Cup Final ever. Well, I'll tell you, it depends on who you're talking to, because my friends in Florida are going absolute out of their minds. And everybody has a thought on where and when this series is going to end, and that is our poll question today. Will the Stanley Cup final end in a sweep? The Panthers are up 3-0. Game 4 is Saturday night at Rogers Place in Edmonton. And I was like, I can't imagine paying $6,000 in some case to sit in a suite last night, especially if you're an Oilers fan and having your team flub it like they did. Like, that's not Stanley Cup finals caliber play. But I'm going to say no, it's not. Which, one thing, woke up this morning, text from an Oilers fan. Used to play in the Dub. Shane Zeliniak, good buddy of mine. Zinger. He's from Sherwood Park. Lives in Kamloops now. And he was like, Roddy, there's only a 3% chance of the Oil coming back. And I'm like, Zinger, you should know better. What are the chances of the Oilers winning Game 4? Because that's all they should be thinking about. And it's probably 50-50. But I'll take that over 3% chance to Saturday night. I bet you the ratings are boffo. For two reasons. One, can the Oil come back? And two, if they can't, to see the Stanley Cup handed out, because I stop everything I'm doing every year to watch that. And I got Panther fan friends that are thinking this is the Oil will win. They're not hoping for this, but they think it'll go back to sunrise on Tuesday night, and then the Panthers will win there. But I'm voting no. It's not going to end Saturday night. It will not be a sweep. That's my vote. You?
I don't think it will either. This is just... The Oilers are too good of a team to lose out in 4 straight games, I believe. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'll say no, it doesn't end on Saturday night, tomorrow night. I think they'll find a way to extend it.
By the way, I just dipped into the comments for a second. Bomber Boy is watching in Calgary, and he's written in again saying, hey, Rod, I'm still interested in hearing your home run call. Can you do a mock call with the Moose hitting the dinger? No, I can't. No money, no funny. I'm not a jukebox, bro. You can go to my Instagram page at Rod Pedersen Official, and my home run calls are on there, and Bobby Picorni and his game-winning RBI double a couple of weekends ago. It's all on there, man. It's 2024. Again, no money, no funny. I ain't a jukebox. Got it, Moose? You know that, Moose. You're not one either.
I was waiting for it.
Right? Hey, folks, elevate your game here at Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, where passion meets performance. GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com. Check us out. I love this place. I'm happy to be here all summer. Okay, so for what a lot of you came here for today, on a football Friday, point 2, the Ottawa Redblacks defense came through late in the fourth quarter of a 23-19 win over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Thursday night at TD Place Stadium in Ottawa. The Bombers had 3 tries at the end zone from Ottawa's 7-yard line, but 2 incompletions and a sack snuffed out the threat in the last minute. The game was delayed for about an hour late in the fourth quarter due to lightning and heavy rain. Winnipeg head coach Mike O'Shea felt his team, who's now 0-2, had a lackluster first half, but liked the squad's pushback in the second half. Here's the quote from O'Shea. I'm just glad that we got a chance to get back out there and finish it for real. It would have probably left a sour taste in everyone's mouth if we didn't get to finish it. We came up short. So I'm trying to follow this while calling a baseball game. So I'm not watching the game on television or even streaming. Trying to follow what's going on. I'm like, what? Why is it stuck on the same score with 2:07 to go or whatever, 23-17, like forever? What the hell's going on over there, right? And I couldn't find an accurate report online anywhere, even with all the services I pay for. So shout out today to Ed Tate, the Hall of Fame writer from BlueBombers.com, formerly the Winnipeg Free Press. He had it all on the Bombers site. He was like, the Bombers were down 7 points with about 2:07 to go, and they're at the Ottawa 50, marching to win the game, and they call the game, or at least postpone it because of weather. He had it all. It was perfect. Old school, Darren. There is a way to do it. It was like I was there reading Ed Tate's post-game wrap at BlueBombers.com, and he explained that after a 50-minute delay, the teams came back out and played the last 2 minutes, and the Bombers couldn't come back to win. And that's why O'Shea is like, it would have left a real sour taste if they'd called the game. At least we got a chance to come out and win the game, but then we blew it. So they're 0-2, and nobody saw that coming. Like, nobody.
Nobody saw this coming. Couple of things. The rain was coming down most of that game, and the lightning, I feel, was a strike by the sports gods, because at that point, Edmonton had come in and scored a couple of goals to make that Stanley Cup final interesting. And I'm sitting here trying to see if I can watch both games because they both matter. And I'm flipping back and forth. I'm going in the intermissions to football and back and forth. And then all of a sudden the game was delayed, which allowed me to watch basically the third period of the Oilers and Panthers. And then by the time that wrapped up, they were almost ready to start again. So that was just beautiful timing last night. But here's what I think about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think they have the yips. That's a sports term, but it's mostly a golf term. And for those that don't know, it's when you have a golf and you just can't do the thing you're used to doing. So in golfing, you just can't hit the ball. You hit it off the thing, it goes left, right, and you're used to doing it normally. Basketball, you can't shoot it anywhere near, right? I think the Bombers have the yips. Like there was a nice wide out pass to Drew Wolotowski, just dropped it. Zach Calero says, missed the pass. They're just like all the things that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers always seem to do seamlessly, they're just not doing right now. And so they need to figure it out. I think they have the yips, but Ottawa looked good. And I tweeted this last night. Drew Brown, he was throwing the ball really well early. Rain was a factor during the game, but he looks really good in Ottawa.
Okay, so a couple things on that. Great analysis by you. And because I'm not a golf guy and I've made that very clear, how do you go about fixing the yips? Tell me how you do.
Well, there was a movie, Don Johnson, right, called Tin Cup. And he had the yips in his caddy.
I watched it.
Right? Put a T behind his ear, put coins in his pocket. The yips is a mental game. It's completely a mental game. You know how to do it, but it's all mental.
I knew the answer. I was just waiting for you to say it. So, because it is all between their ears. That's the Bombers' problem. Somebody wrote in, Shell Dakar writes in and says, what's up with Winnipeg? There's that. And I'll get to everybody else's comments in a second. So I got a football guy from Florida watching the game. God bless CBS Sports Network. And we were texting back and forth. I'm not going to name him, but he's a pro guy. And he goes, with the Bombers, he goes, energy looks low. Quarterback play is up and down. Also, a lot of drops by the wide receivers. They're not helping. So I wrote him back and said, so mostly mental. And he wrote me back and says, looks that way. Not as good on defense either. So that's our assessment. And not that I got to go to an American to tell me or you for the assessment, but it's just Darren said it, I said it. It's all between their ears. And go read Ed Tate's recap at BlueBombers.com because he quotes Mike O'Shea. O'Shea knows. Okay, he knows. Clearly, he knows. He's got a lock on the Coach of the Year trophy going to the Grey Cup. He knows what's wrong. He's probably not necessarily going to tell you, but he's like, this is a new season. Last season was a different season, and it was a different season last season from the season before. This is a new season. It's not a continuation. It's a new team. Do you know what I mean? They'll figure it out. But we can't take anything away from the Ottawa Redblacks, and I'm with you. I watched enough of the game last night to say Drew Brown does look like all that. He was the most coveted free agent going into free agency, even though I think he'd only started 3 games in his career. Was that what it was? 3, whatever. This is his first year as a starter, and you had to have faith that Ottawa general manager Sean Burke knew what he was doing and the head coach Bob Dice. They're good football men, and I hope the bad times are behind them. Dipping back into the comments with regards to the sweep potentially, and that is the poll question. Will the Stanley Cup final end in a sweep? 71% of respondents saying yes, it will. But put me in the no category. I don't. My guy Brent from Wellington, Florida writes in all caps, Edmonton bound. Let's do this. Either way, I've waited too long not to see it live. Well, money and resources are not a problem for my friend Brent from Wellington, Florida. I've told you that, so he can jump on a plane and fly up there to Edmonton, and even if they don't win it, oh well. But he'd like to be in the barn if they win. He's originally from here. He is that guy, but he's been in Florida since 1997, been a season ticket holder for a very long time for the Panthers. They're very excited up there. John in Edmonton says, do you think the conspiracy with the commissioner came to a forefront yesterday here in Canada after the Oilers' loss? Oh, yeah, because Gary Bettman was sitting up in a suite with an imaginary gun, getting Stuart Skinner going out to play the puck behind the net. Oh, yeah.
How about
no,
that?
Bro. There's no commissioner conspiracy. Unless you think there is, Darren. So no Canadian team will win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, Bettman's sitting up there like a remote control. Didn't we talk about this the other day? Or a voodoo doll of McDavid. Ping, ping. No, it's not happening.
No, it's not happening. And it's not that the Oilers are really playing that poorly. It's just you're playing a really good team. When you make mistakes, the Florida Panthers are making you pay on pretty much every mistake. You know, Barkov on that little breakaway short side. The mistake with Nurse and the giveaway with Skinner behind the net. Boom, it's in the back of the net. The Reinhart goal was a tough one, deflected. No, the commissioner's not controlling the outcome of the game.
So, wouldn't it be so? Ooh, what a trick that would be. Mandy in Edmonton writes in, and she says, I went biking by Rogers Place last night with my son. What a lively atmosphere. I plan to go see Shania Twain at the watch party Saturday. Hang on. Darren, listen up. Are we sure Shania Twain didn't play at Game 3 in Edmonton? Because that don't impress me much.
Oh, boom.
That just dawned on me this morning. I couldn't name one song that Our Lady Peace sings. I couldn't, but I was sitting there going, what's a Shania Twain song that fits this narrative of the Oilers soiling themselves in Game 3? That don't impress me much. Because I tell you what, when you walk down the street and you're saying, man, I feel like a woman, people look at you really strange.
Approved.
From the Jug in Saskatoon, Roddy, I'm sorry, man. Do we need to go to a break now? Do you need to compose yourself? That's a good one. Eh?
I got. Oh, I can't. Okay, go.
Okay. From the Jug in Saskatoon, he says, Roddy, get on the road. You should be making your way to Edmonton live. That experience, you can do it. You live one. Hey, Jug, you just worry about yourself. You really need to worry about you. To be honest with you, I've been invited over to a family's place to watch Game 4. This is an invitation that goes back a couple of weeks. You know what? It'll be on my social media. You'll see it. They're cooking up steaks. They got 2 players that play in the Western Hockey League, the boys. And the dad said, the boys would like you to come on over and watch Game 4 of the Stanley Cup with us. We'll throw some steaks on. We'll have a big time. So that's what I'm going to do. You worry about you, Jug. You head up to Edmonton. I know there's lots of people going to Edmonton. Can't be everywhere. And I'm really looking forward to spending that time with that family Saturday night. And to me, that's where I want to be. So that's where I will be. John Ohm, oh boy. Ohm says the Panthers figured out how to win. Good on them. Can I just remind everybody that they haven't won anything yet? We'll be right back. We're in the middle of the warm-up. Oh, Jim Barker's in next. So, Moose, you and I will finish this all in hour 2.
You bet.
We'll be talking all CFL with the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker when we return. Get your questions and comments in now. We're live, not on Game Plus television today. Sorry about that. Not my call. We're streaming, though, on YouTube and on the radio, WQEE-FM, your southern home of sports and talk, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Everybody, a reminder, there's lots of sports on your tube, or you could go in person, but why not check out a movie this weekend at Landmark Cinemas? And before you do, sign up for Landmark Extras for free. It's their rewards program. Moose and I are both in it. There's 3 programs to choose from: free movies, free concession items, special events you get invited to with that. LandmarkCinemas.com for all the details. And let's bring in Jim Barker now. We're going to be talking all Canadian Football League. Hey, Coach Barker, welcome. And I could turn it loose on the questions for you from the audience. Let's do that, if you don't mind. 23-19, Ottawa over Winnipeg. Nobody saw it coming, and nobody wants to talk about the Red Blacks. They all want to know what's wrong with the Bombers.
Well, I heard you and Moose talking about the yips. And, I remember Steve Sachs had that when I was a kid for the Dodgers. First time I'd really ever seen it, where he just couldn't throw the ball from second base to first. And I don't buy that in this situation. I think they lack confidence. I think they've played 2 games very poorly. No touchdowns and 3 interceptions for Zach Collaros. I think he's losing confidence, but this is a different team. Their interior 3 on the offensive line just aren't gelling the way they've played. And then they have Lofton, a new right tackle for Jamarcus Hardrick. And I just watched the film this morning of the game, and he blocks his guy, but it's constricted, and I feel like Zach is feeling him because it's that side of the line is constricted. So these are all little things. He didn't play in the preseason, so he didn't feel any of that in any game situation, because in practice that doesn't happen. So I think he's feeling that kind of thing now, and I think he, more than anything, lacks confidence. I think they have no juice. Their speed is very limited. And watching, it just seemed like Zach was waiting at times too long. And again, give Ottawa credit. Their defensive line gave a lot of pressure. But Ottawa's problem is they're always been good against the run, and they pressure the quarterback, but they give up big plays. And sure enough, last night they gave up 2 big ones that kept Winnipeg in the game, or that game would have been a blowout. So I think Winnipeg's problems are much deeper than I think they lack confidence, because I think they believe they're not a very good team right now, and they can talk all the smack they want, but they're playing like they don't believe they're good.
Well, that all depends on your definition, but to me, lack of confidence is mental. And that's what we were talking about, right? But it's, you know what I'm, yeah. So, but on the Ottawa side of things, there were some busts, but that's a football game. They stiffened when they had to at the end. And Drew Brown looked like all that, wouldn't you say?
Well, again, I'm not totally sold yet. It was one game, and I thought he missed some balls he should have got thrown. Again, this was a game that I thought they could have really, really blown up. I think Tommy Condell's doing a great job. They have a great receiving core. I just like their variety between Rhymes and Ackland, and he's using Braylon Addison the way we used him in 19 in Hamilton, and that becomes problems for a defense because they motion the back out. They got a young back that again is a lot better than I thought he might be. Rock Armstead. I think he's a tough physical runner inside. He seemed to pass protect well. And Drew didn't make any big mistakes. And that's a huge thing for a young quarterback is don't make the big mistakes. He made a couple of really nice throws. There's, no doubt about that. But through the length of the game, he's going to have to show this a few weeks. And as people watch him, they'll get things on him and he'll have to make adjustments to his game as teams adjust against him. So it looks up for Ottawa. You always want to win, unlike Edmonton, who played well against Saskatchewan. I mean, they had that game in hand going into the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, do they get the yips? What do they get? Is that the yips that they just can't win?
Ask Jones. Here's the thing. Boris Beatty and Macbeth are new. They were signed to not do that, to win games. So actually, hey, you're getting the hang of this TV business. Yeah, Leak the fumbling too. Yeah, another one, special teams player of the year. You're nice segue into tonight, Coach. Listen, you're going to be a media guy before you know it. Tonight's game, Montreal, heavily favored. I don't know what the point spread is. And I love Cody Fajardo. He's family to me. I'm taking Edmonton because they got to win. They got to win. What do you think about tonight?
Well, I'm worried about Edmonton's offensive line. Boyko's still out. He's got some kind of concussion problem, I think. And Hunter Stewart toward the end in the fourth quarter when they needed him, was soft over at the right tackle spot, and kind of McLeod's aware of that. I mean, everybody talks about the left tackle, but the right tackle squeezes the quarterback's throwing arm. And so I think that I'm worried about their Edmonton's offensive line, and their defensive line, I thought played better than I thought they would. But they've got great athletes. There's no doubt about it. Can they get away from those mistakes? It's almost like that fourth quarter. I mean, they're cruising in the third quarter. And I just thought, okay, I turned to Farhan and in the studio and said, this thing's done. They're just in total control. And then boom, 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 game's over. And Saskatchewan has come from behind. And, it was just with that last fumble, it was almost like, you have to be kidding me. This can't be real. And again, what causes that? I mean, Leak comes from they won a Grey Cup in 22, won 16 games last year. Now he comes over and in a key spot in the game, he fumbles. I mean, how does that happen, Rod? I mean, seriously, those are the kinds of questions that you say, wow, Beatty's got as strong a leg as there is in the league. He not only missed that, but he barely got it to the goal line. Now, you're talking about a guy that consistently kicks the ball out the back of the end zone. Consistently. And, how does that happen? Game on the line, and he's, it's beyond me. And they just find a way to not win games. And Montreal, the exact opposite. Montreal is in a position now where they don't believe they can lose. I mean, they've won 9 games in a row since Darnell Sankey was signed, and they still have Sean Lemon playing while he waits for his appeal to happen. So since those two guys have joined, they're 9-0, and they don't believe they can lose. Noel Thorpe does a great job and keeps them close. It'll be tough sledding for Edmonton, but Edmonton's got to run the ball better. And like I say, they have to protect McLeod, but I just didn't think they did a great job of that, or they could have run away with that game more against Saskatchewan. So I think they're in tough tonight. I really do. I just think that defense of Montreal is going to be difficult for them.
Maybe they mixed up the footballs, coach, and there was a microchip in that football that made it go and fell out of Macbeth's hand. I don't know. Argos. Argos. Any chance this guy makes them forget about Chad Kelly? He looked pretty good, Dukes, last week against BC.
Yeah, and he's good. He's got a good football team around him. They may be better this year than they were last year. That offensive line is they're just stellar, and they gave him time. They ran the ball. Kadeem Carey, if he stays healthy, he'll be up for outstanding player in the league because of that offensive line and what Ryan Dinwiddie does. He gave Cameron Dukes a great game plan, something that was very simple for him to execute. He didn't have to go back and make a lot of reads. Again, I give him a lot of credit. And that defense, give credit to Kevin Iben and Will Fields and who knows who calls the plays, and it doesn't really matter because when the pressure was on at the end of the game, in the second half, they pressured Vernon Adams like nobody's business. And those interior guys, I'm not sure, is Brinkman and Serezna a better inside pair than Hendricks and Oakman? I mean, it's very possible that they've improved an area that they were the best in the league last couple years. Flo on the edge, he's by far the best pass rusher in the league. And, Wynton McManus, he's, just so outstanding at linebacker. So this is a really, really good football team, the Argonauts. So Cameron Dukes, if they do what they did with him and allow him to function within the scheme of their offense, they're going to win some games and they'll get Chad Kelly back eventually.
If they even need him, sure. Absolutely. Who knows? I don't know any about that, and I don't want to know. Our viewers voted Calgary at BC the game of the week. And I think it's because we're a Western, whatever the reasons, they think Calgary at BC is the most intriguing game. What do you think?
Well, I think it's intriguing. I don't know if it's the most intriguing. I mean, I actually think Hamilton and Saskatchewan's a very intriguing game. So Hamilton at home, I think it's almost a must-win kind of situation for them. They need to get back to being a team that believes they can win. They're kind of in that same situation with Edmonton now. But I thought they did a lot of really good things against Calgary. But the Calgary-BC game's interesting. BC's picked by everybody to obviously they're the best team in the West now. If Winnipeg is where they've been, it's them and Saskatchewan probably leading the pack in the West. And again, I question their offensive line. I thought the left guard Neville really struggled the entire game for BC against Toronto. Again, now he's blocking Brinkman, who nobody really knows about, but he's a solid player. But Neville just really had no chance against him, and it was and Serezna both. They brought Stan back in to give them that physical. You remember last year I said they're not physical enough to beat Winnipeg, and they went out and said we're going to become bigger and we're going to become more physical. They must watch your show every Friday, Rod, because we harped on that all year, and they went out and they did that. But I don't know if they are. I watched them on defense, and Christian Covington, in 1 week, he's learned this is a different game. 20 seconds between plays that's no fooling around. And you could see he was gassed. And again, they need him to play well inside. They've lost Betts on the edge. So outside of Toima, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Toima, number 0, the Samoan kid who plays on the edge for them. Outside of him, I didn't notice anybody on their defense. I thought Haladic was just okay, and their secondary was just okay, and there was just nothing about them that made them look like they've become a physical team outside of they have Stan back in the backfield who gives you that presence of we're going to run the ball down your throat. And I thought Montreal lost a little of that when they lost Stan back. And right now they're winning. And down the road, as we get into the fall, will Walter Fletcher be able to carry that load and maintain that physicalness that really I thought played a lot in Montreal's success? So it's all very interesting. But BC, again, they have VA. Their receiving core is good.
Right.
Can they be physical enough?
I got to jump in. We got 2 minutes left. You're a TV guy now, so you'll know what that means. Just a quick thought. A quick thought on Sask at Hamilton, just to wind up the week.
Yeah, I love this game. I think it's going to be. I think Sask they felt their way through that game. I think Trevor's trying to understand exactly what Mark Mueller wants. I liked what Mark did with a lot of formations and things like that. I love what Scott Milanovich is doing with Bo Levi Mitchell. I think he's putting him in position to be successful, to do things he can do at this stage in his career and be very successful. Hamilton their receiving core was pathetic. They were terrible. And I thought Tim White, who needs to be the guy, had a chance to make a couple plays that were going to change that game completely, didn't make them. I think that Hamilton still got some issues on defense. Saskatchewan, I felt like, played solid on defense. Not great, but they played solid. The Logan Ferland penalty was a big one. It takes them out of scoring position, and they just did some things that they can't do. And I'm sure that those kinds of things will go away if they can continue to win. So this is a fascinating game. This is two teams that I think are both struggling to get into that upper tier of teams. I think that Saskatchewan's right on the cusp of being one of the upper tier teams. And I think Hamilton, if Bo Levi can play the way he played and they can get the receivers around him to play a little better, they can move into that, that upper echelon. So that's what makes that game the most intriguing to me of the weekend.
My good friend John Lynch, who's not with us anymore, the Hall of Fame writer broadcaster, would call this an ESBG, an early season big game. That's what he would call it. The Ticats and the Riders, early season big game, an ESBG. All right, Jim, we'll be watching. Break a leg. Right, they're all big. Sure. Okay. That's what I told Lynch, and he didn't listen. Okay, thanks, Coach. See ya.
All right,
Jim Barker from the CFL on TSN. We'll be right back with a sports update, and we got a lot of time for your viewer comments here today. And coming up in hour 2, Ticats alum Jason Riley, CFL alum, talking about his book, Taming a Mad Dog. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, which I understand we are on the air across Canada, just not the U.S., as we're preempted for pickleball, Joe. Was that your decision? On the radio, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown. Some girls don't like boys like me. With Shenandoah. You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center. I'll take the dirt road. Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. 6 days on the road and I'm Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The live sports experience is changing. teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Laquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, everybody, it's full-on viewer takeover, and you know what? Not even the crazies are going to get me upset today. Trust me. No. I'm looking forward to this weekend. The Millers are on the road. We have no home broadcast. Tough one last night. I will say this. Fell 4-3 to the Regina Red Sox at home at Roswells Park, and it was a mind screw for me. First time in a very long time that I broadcast a game where Regina was the opponent. You know what I mean, Clark? So I'm like going through the stats, trying to get the Moose Jaw stats. I see Regina, I just automatically go to click on it. It's been my team for 30 years. Not anymore, bro. Get with it. And when I say the football people that complain all year we don't talk enough football, it's now Football Friday, and they're writing in about hockey. No, you're not. Nope. Not going to get me off my game. Buffalo Bill writes in from North Dakota, and he says, losing one game at the beginning of the season is less painful than the title game. Winnipeg will be fine. Signed, Cattle Rancher. That's from Buffalo Bill, the Cattle Rancher. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. If the Oilers get swept out, would you rather be like Jets fans and get your ass kicked in round one? Or make them be the Flames and not even make the playoffs at all? A lot less painful. Better to have loved than lost than not loved at all. Ideally, you don't want to lose at all. Brian in Hudson Bay writes in regarding Piss Jug, telling me that I should go to Edmonton for Game 4 tomorrow. He says, good morning, boys. Why does an old Jug go to Edmonton instead of telling others what to do? LOL. Looking forward to all the football games this weekend. I do like the fact that the CFL, I want to say, has the whole football world to itself. I mean, I guess the UFL is playing right now, the United Football League. I don't know. I'm not paying attention because my focus is on the Western Canadian Baseball League. Guess what? They're paying me. Kirk in Toronto writes in, "Hi, Rod. Football Fridays should never be preempted for pickleball. Ever! And yes, I'm watching on YouTube." Yeah, he's not even trying to get me off my game, but I'm not going to let anything get me off my game. I don't make the decisions on programming. I just sit at this table and talk, and my paycheck ain't affected either way. So, talk to Game Plus. To the football fans who are writing in talking about hockey, like, Mandy in Edmonton writes in, and she says, Wayne Gretzky told Connor McDavid in a GQ YouTube conversation that he will lift the cup because he's too good. Would Gretzky ever be wrong? Hey, just because they look like they're going to lose this series doesn't mean that they won't be back. Look at Florida last year. I didn't think they'd be back this year. And look at this. They came back with a vengeance. John in Edmonton says, Rod, should Canada steal the Stanley Cup and start our own NHL, and then we refuse to release the cup to the U.S. because our extradition deal doesn't cover sports trophies? John, I think you need to go for a walk. Jeff in Yorkton writes in, I know it's Football Friday, but man, the Oilers have zero puck luck. Florida's doing well to press, and the puck finds the net. Oilers hit posts or bounces over sticks. Just the way that it goes. Like, this is our regular audience. This is the Rod Squad, everybody. See what I'm talking about? John Ohm, switching goalies is the only chance the Oilers can win. Sorry, Stuart Skinner. Yes, because maybe Calvin Pickard can score goals. John says, former Grey Cup champions, Baltimore is in the championship game this weekend in the UFL. I didn't even know. We'll see what's up. Coming back in hour 2 with Moose, and you can all have your way with whatever you'd like to talk about right after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
So what was it like coaching the Panthers in the 90s at the old Miami Arena? And he said it was in a bad end of town, and the police told him, when you come to a red light around the arena, don't stop. Keep rolling through because they'll come and steal your car. And he was driving an 86 Toyota Corolla. So he said he came up to a red light, and he didn't stop. He rolled through the intersection, and some local yelled at him, "Don't worry, we wouldn't steal that piece of garbage."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Let's get after it, everybody. Hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show is on the air, and it's a bit of a oddball situation. We are officially Canada's daytime sports talk show, but we're preempted on Game Plus television in Canada because of pickleball, but we're on television in the USA on Game Plus. I know. I don't get it either. And we're on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. And I really hope one day that we do get an NHL franchise in Atlanta. And if you don't know why, then we can't be friends. And of course, streaming as always. Maybe you're listening to the show later on a podcast. I'm not sure. Let's bring in Moose. He's in Toronto, and he's going to a movie premiere tonight, a documentary premiere on Andrew Harris. We are going to get to the Canadian Football League games this weekend because we are on Canadian television, but we just got to tell everybody to slow down. Let's be honest, Darren, my inbox, my timeline is full of a few things. Number one, chief among them is the Florida Panthers leading Edmonton Oilers 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final. They go for a sweep Saturday night. And that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is our poll question. Will it end in a sweep? Darren and I both saying no, or at least I said no. What did you say?
I said no as well. Yeah.
Okay. Week 2 in the CFL kicked off last night with a huge upset. Ottawa beating Winnipeg 23-19 in Ottawa, in a game delayed almost an hour because of a rainstorm. We'll get to that. I'm not allowing my mind to be fried. At least not. I'm trying not to, Darren. But we had the young gentleman from the Game Plus control room right in and said, "You got to get on cricket. You should talk about all the sports, cricket." And it's like, this morning in the 12-step meeting that I was in, we talked about the truth and honesty and how honesty is the best policy. And it reminds me of the Cats and Bolts podcast. There's young Panthers fans saying, "Can I get on your podcast?" I want to say, no. I'm just going to tell you, there's no way that you're ever going to get on the podcast. Just tell them that you owe it to them. The truth, don't you? Or should I just string them? We're probably not going to talk about cricket, because last night I was calling baseball, and there were nuances in the football game in Ottawa that I missed. And then the hockey game, I only was able to follow the first period. Stuff went on that I didn't see. And that's, when you're calling a game, as you know, you probably should focus on the game. That's probably a pretty good thing. Are you on top of cricket? Apparently there was a big game this morning. Are you going to follow cricket for us? Are you going to be the cricket guy?
What's funny is, no, I'm not, but also, yes, I am, because for whatever reason, maybe because my phone is sitting here on the table, but it's now on my timeline. India beat the USA last night in a close one.
Okay.
something along the lines of 7 wickets and 20 overs and 8 outs. None of it makes sense to me yet, but everybody's trying to explain it in the comments section. One guy said it perfectly. When somebody came through, it's not this, and they tried to correct him. He's like, we're talking cricket 101. You're speaking cricket 102. We need a PhD to talk about cricket 102, okay? Let's just get the basics figured out here. So it's creeping into my timeline, but that's about it.
Okay, fair. It's not creeping into mine, and I just feel like telling the young gentleman at Game Plus, I just got to be honest with you, I just don't have enough room in the cranium to get into cricket. I'm just going to be honest. If that upsets you, I'm sorry. Like these guys were writing in last hour that Baltimore is in the United Football League final this weekend. I didn't know that, whatever they call them. Because not everybody needs to think this way, but this is the way I think. Did you see Paul Maurice after the game last night? Did you see the clip? I mean, that's what, man, I love the Florida Panthers. I want them to win the Stanley Cup. Sorry, there's that honesty again. I want them to win. They've opened up their video sharing. They're like, Rod, we know that you're not at the games. You're in Moose Jaw calling baseball, but here, have our video. Put it on your Twitter. Put it on your social media. Like, they're first class. And they're going to win the Stanley Cup, I think. And I think where I opened this is I wanted to say that everybody's pretty much got the Oilers written off. Like, this is going to end. That's what I'm seeing. Even Oilers fans are saying that. And they're fighting back and forth. Welcome to Canada, everybody. There's social media wars amongst my friends. Big Earn, Darren, Scruffy, over what would have happened if Dallas had played Florida. And would they have put up a bigger fight? That's Canada in a nutshell. But anyway, walking back. Paul Maurice after the game last night, people are like, how are you going to prepare this team? How are you going to keep their focus off Game 4 and sweeping? Or is it going to be, how do you relax? He's like, what I'm thinking about is going back to my room and going to bed. And I'm really going to enjoy it. That's my plan. Hey, morning, guys. How are you? Miller's showing up, reporting for duty, Moose, here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. On the road tonight to Weyburn. But that's how I look at things. I don't think you look at things that way, though. Just what's right in front of you, take care of that. And then everything else will take care of itself. That's how I roll.
In this situation, that's what it calls for, right? And same with the Oilers. You talked about 3% chance to win the series, but what are the odds he said to win Game 4? In this situation, that's exactly what it calls for. No forward thinking. Just thinking about what's right in front of you and the task we have to do right now. Other situations call for forward thinking. This isn't one of them. I'm with Paul Maurice on this. Worry about getting to bed, worry about getting a good night's sleep, worry about having a good off day, and then worry about game day when it's game day. And I think the series feels like it's a long ways from over, but it could still end Saturday.
Well, we'll just lastly say this. Life, to me, sports is so awesome because it's translatable to life. And life each day can be like a football game. If you win each play, if you win each day, it'll all add up to winning the game. You can't lose if you win each play. You can't lose. And then this morning, as I was roaming the golf course here, trying to take some photos, and the golfers were giving me the stink eye, and I realized I'm probably out of place here, but life is like a par 5. You got to know where you're going. You should just have a goal and then work towards it. Maybe you go right, maybe you go left, but you just got to keep going towards that goal. Because if you don't have that stick to shoot at, what are you doing? Right? So anyways, that's why I love sports so much and why it seems to work. Anyways, yeah, I know. Like Jeff the Stamps fan writes in and he says, many Canadians don't understand our brand of football. Now they want to learn about cricket. No, it's just a young man from the Game Plus control room said we need to talk about all sports, including cricket. And I'm just going to be honest and say that's probably not what we're going to do here. And not now. Maybe down the line, Darren, maybe I'll become the biggest cricket guy. So see that today. So on point to the CFL tonight. Hang on. Utah, Darren wrote in and says, we are ticked to lose to India in cricket. And by the way, I had no idea the CFL season had even started, LOL. But he's a huge United Football League fan, and he's one of the guys who wrote in last hour and said Baltimore's in the UFL final. I'm like, I'm not following it. I can't name you one player in the UFL. I can't. So again, we're going to talk about what Rod wants to talk about because it's the Rod Pedersen Show. and we covered Ottawa beating Winnipeg last night and how worried Bomber fans should be. Do you want to defend yourself, by the way, to Jim Barker? I mean, you guys know you met, right, at Grey Cup last year? He's like, yeah, I was watching your thing. Darren said they got the yips. I don't think it's that. They're just lacking confidence. I literally said, Jim, that is the yips. That's mental. And he's like, oh, yeah, I could see. Did you see that segment?
I have the yips in my golf game, in my short game, around the green chipping. Like, I have no idea where the ball is going to go, to the point where I just would rather pick up and be done. It's that bad. And it feels like that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going through right now. You know, they've got the talent, they've got the players, they've got the coaching staff, they got all the pieces. They're good enough, but for whatever reason, they just can't make the play, make the catch, make the tackle, make the, it's the yips.
Yep, literally, yeah, again, we got to get back on what we do here, and that's the Rod Pedersen Show, and talk about the things that I want to talk about, like this. Jim Barker. Until he started coming on this show, I never really knew the man. I'd interviewed him a couple times over the years, but I didn't have his number in my phone. And I do now, and we do talk outside this show, but he is just the quintessential football guy that I don't know that we could work together on the same team because we see things differently. And he, pretty sure at his age, he ain't changing or looking at different ways of doing things. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, it's not the yips, guys. It's not mental. It's just they're lacking confidence. It's like J.J. McCarthy with Michigan. You know, Jim saying, yeah, I wouldn't draft him because he's got that weird meditation thing. Meanwhile, quarterbacking the Wolverines to a national championship. And let's see what he does in Minnesota.
That?
But you know what? You're not going to change Jim. Like, I work in this, not just recovery field with addiction and mental health, but just mental strength. And I've had a lot of my friends, when I was working with the Rough Riders, said, can we get in there? They don't have a mental coach. Can we work with them? I approached the Riders. This was in the Jones era. And all of them said, nah, we're good. That's not to say that they're wrong. There's a lot of teams that don't have a mental sports psychologist or mental strength coach. A lot of people don't believe in it. Jim Barker would be an example of that. But it's like, I don't know how you would work through the yips, Darren, and lack of confidence without somebody in there. I don't know how you would do it. How would you do it? I don't know. I know how I would do it. But that's not the only way, is my point.
You're right. It takes a big mental reset. And for Jim talking about, I wouldn't draft this guy or that, whatever, that's probably right for Jim too, because when you lead a team and your team is built a certain way, you need certain players that fit that mold. J.J. McCarthy might not fit that mold, being a free thinker or a meditator or that type of personality. It's why I would not work out in the military. Being a creative, free thinker, think outside the box, because I'd be sitting there being like, but I think we should, what if we went around this way and attacked them from that side and half of us start going that way? No, we devised a plan to go this way. We're going this way. Like, that's the only way it's going to work, is if we all are on the same page. So sometimes there's situations for those types of people. It's not necessarily on Jim Barker's football team.
Right. So that's why it's fun to talk about these things, but I don't think we could work together. 902-518-3033. Alan Walter writes in from Lampman. Love that town. He says, good morning, Rod. I'm listening through WQEE while in the field today. How about that, Ryan O'Radio? Thanks for having us on live. He says, did the Blue Bombers lose members from the offensive line over the offseason, or did they lose many personnel? All football games are heavily influenced by the trenches, especially when it's 3 downs. Have a good weekend, RP and Moose. He's the big NFL fan, too. Well, if you were watching or listening last hour when Jim Barker was on, he talked about the offensive line issues of the Bombers. I mean, one specifically is Jermarcus Hardrick, the monstrous right tackle, who I believe was a huge key part of their 2 Grey Cup wins and 4 Grey Cup appearances. He left in free agency, Yoshi, and he's now playing for Saskatchewan. So that's right there is one big change. When you take not only, the left tackle they say is more important, but the right tackle is pretty important too, especially if he's a leader. So yeah, they have had changes. And I get this. People are trying to get and want to get to the bottom of what's going on with Winnipeg. And I think Mike O'Shea, again, Ed Tate, you're welcome, the Hall of Fame writer for BlueBombers.com. Go read his post-game recap. O'Shea is just saying it's a different year than last year. And last year was a different year from the year before. And people are freaking out. And to be honest, where's this? Wayne in BC says, it's interesting how the Bombers are struggling and they have injuries. But you can't use that as an excuse. Well, you can, depending on who your boss is. And this is why the Bombers win, because Wade Miller, you can't fool him. Now, I have a football friend in Vegas. I think you know who he is, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. And I said to him, do you go along the injuries as an excuse? He's like, no. But if you're losing and you don't know why and you have injuries, I would be using it as an excuse to explain myself to my boss, to the owner of the team or the president. Do you know what I'm saying? Wade Miller, you ain't fooling Wade. Because Wade knows. But some teams that have a president that doesn't know, you can fool them. This is why we're losing, Prez, because we have these injuries. Wade would go, well, why don't you have them replaced? And they lost, by the way, to an Ottawa team with Drew Brown at quarterback, who Winnipeg brought into the league. And he signed elsewhere in free agency because he knew he was never going to get his chance in Winnipeg. So Winnipeg found that guy. So that sucks even more if you're a Bomber fan today, right? That happens, man. Teams raid your roster. We saw it in Sask. Calgary's gone through it. It's the way it is.
It is. It's the way it is. And then, you know, getting out of it, you mentioned is a mental game. And we talked about tin cup, putting the T behind your ear, stuff in your pocket. That's what they tell you, you know, in the golf game. Here, take your shoes off and hit the ball. Anything that makes you think about something else to be free. And, you know, not that Zach Collaros isn't going to be the quarterback that's going to lead Winnipeg, but maybe it's time to use Chris Streveler a little bit and just be like, hey, we're just going to flip this upside down for a little bit. And you're going to go a series on, series off. And we're going to keep switching them up to get this offense sparked and become more two-dimensional. Same thing with the Oilers. It was floated this morning that maybe Calvin Pickard should start in game number 4 for Edmonton. Not that it's Stuart Skinner's fault, but he started a couple games in Vancouver. Won games, really sparked their series. They went back to Skinner, never looked back. Maybe that's what Edmonton needs to do, and maybe that's what the Bombers need to do, go to Streveler a little bit.
Just getting into things. By the way, Randy from Winnipeg writes in, he says, Zach Collaros, 50% passing attempts, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 2 games. Just won't cut it. Oh, man, sports is a cruel bitch. We don't care that you took us to 4 straight Grey Cups. We don't care that you won 2 Grey Cups and ended a 30-year drought. Right, what are you doing now? Which, by the way, they're not wrong. I know we got a break here, but I was just thinking about the Patriots. I was thinking about this morning. You need to get up every single day and prove yourself. Every GD day. Bill Belichick wins 6 Super Bowls, 300-plus games for New England. What have you done for us lately, Bill? Oh, nothing? Oh, Zach, what are you doing for us? I guess they've stopped pouring that statue for out front of IG Field or whatever the hell they're calling it now. We'll be right back on a Football Friday here, live on Game Plus Television in USA only there on the radio in Atlanta and WQEE, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
It's a Football Friday, but we also talk basketball here on the RP Show. And the Saskatchewan Rattlers pro basketball team plays out of Sask Health Center, offering the best entertainment for all of Saskatchewan sports fans. Their season has started 5-2, baby, with leadership from their NBA experienced head coach Larry Abney. They look to return to championship weekend in August. Get your tickets now. Go to Ticketmaster or head on down to the Rattlers front office in downtown Saskatoon. Our viewership has spiked in Saskatoon. I don't know why. Let's bring the Moose in. They love Darren in Saskatoon, the home of the Berries. By the way, in the Canadian Elite Basketball League last night, Niagara whomped Montreal 94-80. Scarborough beat Ottawa 105-91. And Vancouver beat the Winnipeg Sea Bears 112-91. Just so you know, Game Plus, I came home last night from the ball game here that I was calling, and the game was on. I sat down and watched it. Vancouver and Winnipeg. And Chuck Swirsky was calling the game, the former voice of the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can I just mention the Western Canadian? Well, by the way, tonight in the CEBL, Edmonton's at Calgary. Just putting that out there, the Battle of Alberta. If you want to cheer on an Edmonton team that might win, go watch the Stingers tonight at Calgary. And Moose Western Canadian Baseball League. Did I mention the scores from last night? Regina beat Moose Jaw here 4-3. Medicine had over Saskatoon 6-4. Swift Current over Weyburn 15-4. Sylvan Lake beat Lethbridge 11-2. Okotoks beat Edmonton 7-2. And Brooks over Fort McMurray 9-1. So I'm just reading the results there from the league from which I work in, and which is another thing. Before we get to tonight's CFL game, I want your take on Montreal at Edmonton, if you don't mind. With this UFL thing, the championship games this weekend, I didn't know. Because these Miller players, I've called, I think they played 18 games, and I've called 9. Because I just do the home game. They come in here, they say, good morning every day. I know their names, I know their histories, I'm getting to know their families, and now I care about how they do. I wanted to just come in, call the games, and go home. Didn't work that way. When you get invested, you care. Now I'm checking the damn road games, seeing how they're doing on the road. You know, that wasn't the plan. They got me. They hooked me. And that's what the leagues do with the successful leagues do with their players, right?
Yeah, with their players and with their teams, right? When you follow a story, that's what's always so great when we get to the Stanley Cup final is we don't care about the Florida Panthers. I mean, we don't care about the Edmonton Oilers unless you're an Oiler fan or a Panther fan. But
yeah,
because of the teams we do care about, we start to follow these teams a little bit. And then when our teams lose, we watch them more and more and learn more about their players every series. And now we're invested. I'm invested for Connor McDavid to win a Stanley Cup. I'm invested for Paul Maurice to win a Stanley Cup because I start hearing what they say more often and learning more about them and who they are. And so now I'm attached. And now I feel good when you win. That's why we love watching these trophies get handed out every year.
Yeah, and why, there was so many Penguins fans in Canada because the Penguins were going to the Stanley Cup final every spring. It was in kids' faces every day. Right? And that's not the case anymore, but they had the good wave for a long time, and clearly that window's closed. So anyways, to the audience, Wayne in BC writes that he says, boy, Rod, the honesty you're talking today is awesome. Sometimes truth is cruel. Sports is also cruel. Mark in Melford says, sports is a what have you done for me lately? Before I go to Jeff in Yorkton and his great comment on CFL and what's going on, Brendan Taman used to always say it's a results-based business. And can I say this? Yours and my good friend, Mydale Mike Lee, the oil man. You know what he used to say to that? Every business is a results-based business. Everyone. So the thing is the sports people don't understand because they've never worked outside sports that life is the same. Produce or you're gone. That's life. So Jeff in Yorkton, regarding what's going on with Winnipeg, he says, if it was Wally Buono, would he have moved on from Zach Collaros by now? Has Mike O'Shea held on to some of the core too long? Only time will tell in the long CFL season. Tom Brady lost how many Super Bowls? 3? At least 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to give a guy a little leeway. Come on.
Can't win them all. You can't win them all. And when it comes to McDavid, here's the thing, too, and the Oilers. Florida didn't win last year, and everybody talked about how much better Vegas was, and Florida wasn't close. And, yeah, they were banged up and all the rest. Well, now it's the complete opposite. They come back a second year. Sidney Crosby went to the Stanley Cup final. Pittsburgh played Detroit. What happened? The Penguins lost. They came back the very next year and won. It doesn't always happen the very first time you get there. It's really hard to get there. You might never get there again. But look at Crosby, won 3 Stanley Cups, right? So just because this might be over in 4, 5, 6, or 7 games doesn't mean that McDavid and the Oilers are done. This isn't going to be their only shot, I don't think.
I don't either, but his contract's coming up, and Leon's is too. And that's a story that it's going to be worth following over the next year or two, but not here. Interesting comment, or not today. Very interesting comment from Jim in Balgoni. He writes that he says, I'm only invested in the Stanley Cup final because my stupid Flyers gave up on Bob. Oh, no. Well, I just called up Sergei Bobrovsky's story. I hope everybody's enjoying this discussion as much as I am because I love this stuff, and this is what I talk about with my friends all the time. What we're talking about here right now. Sergei Bobrovsky was drafted by Philadelphia in 2010. And he spent just 2 years there, went to Columbus for a long time, won 2 Vezinas there, right? And then he came to the Panthers in 2019. He's been there ever since. And now he's up for the Vezina again this year. He's won it twice. And people give up on you because if you're not, I get maybe why he didn't have the best numbers in Philadelphia. Weren't terrible, but 2.59 GAA, 3.02. Here's my whole thing, Darren. You've heard me talk about Dale Talon, and the older viewers will know more about Dale Talon than the younger ones will. But he's from Rouyn-Noranda. He's from Rouyn-Noranda. You want to hear a real funny story? He played for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was drafted by Vancouver. He's a heralded hockey name. I think they said he was the first ever draft choice of the Vancouver Canucks franchise. He's no kid, okay? But he was the longtime Chicago Blackhawks television broadcaster, color guy. Then he became the general manager for like 10 years. And then he left Chicago to run the Florida Panthers for 10 years as general manager. And now he still lives in Florida, but the Panthers fired him. And like most, I'm sorry to say, he's having a tough time getting over it. But he signed Bob in Florida. And I love Dale because he's a dyed-in-the-wool hockey guy. And he came on our podcast in Florida, the Cats and Bolts podcast. He came into the studio, and he met Serena there. And he's like, oh, where are you from? He's just a good old hockey guy, right? He's like, where are you from? And she goes, I'm from Glen Avon, Saskatchewan. He goes, well, my mom's from Walmart. We're like, what? His mom, Dale Talon, all that long history I just read you, his mom's from Walmart, Saskatchewan. It's like 20 miles from Serena's hometown. But they just trounced Dale in Florida. They trounced him. And when I had him on the show, the fans, I mean, when I had him on, all the fans were like, what are you talking to him for? He ruined this franchise, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, he signed Bob. He drafted Barkov. He drafted Jonathan Huberdeau, which turned into Matthew Tkachuk. Like when you're building a team, do you not think the bones of the team, it's like a house. He put the bones of this franchise together. And then he was fired for whatever. I wasn't around. It was just before I got down there. But it's a lot to live with if you're him. You wonder why these guys are bitter. You know? And so the whole thing is, by the way, the industry changes. How to run a team changes. Sutter said it here the other day. The Panthers have good people on their team. And not to say that Talon didn't have that philosophy, Darren, but I think now it does matter. It goes back to culture. I don't know what the culture was before I got there, but it's a great culture now. And it's not easy to build, right?
Yeah. Everybody plays a role. Everybody plays a role. And Talon, puts the bones together or makes the draft picks and brings in Bob. But you need to hand it off to somebody to do the finishings, to make it really beautiful and then go to market, Doesn't make what Dale Talon did any less important, but he's not the guy to finish it and get it across the finish line in this situation. Cool. You talked about Bob, and I've said this 100 times about Sergei Bobrovsky. I don't know him, but I use him as an example that situation matters so much in life and in sports, as much as talent, because good players go to bad situations and toxic environments and don't succeed. The same player goes to somewhere else and can flourish. Great in Columbus. And maybe there's nothing else to do in Columbus but play hockey. So he's super focused in the way he goes. Goes to Philadelphia, and a market that's typically hard on goaltenders. What do you know? Maybe a guy doesn't perform that well when he's being barked at all day long or when he's being under that much scrutiny. Goes to Florida, and maybe he gets a taste of the ocean for the first time and he's a little distracted. But once he figures out how to balance living in a beautiful location with playing hockey and all the rest, man, it's turned into the best of Sergei Bobrovsky. And clearly, with the right coach, the right environment, he's in a situation that's good for him.
Might be a great time to repost the podcast interview with Dale Talon because he got mad. I said, would you sign Bobrovsky again now? He's like, yes! Because you overpay on July 1st. You have to. If you go out and you go shopping and you want this player, you're going to overpay. And they gave him $10.5 million, and people thought he was nuts. How's it look now? Meanwhile, he's fired. And up the road, while Bob's delivering now what Dale intended for him to do 5 years ago. Right? And I'll bring this up. Now would be a good time. We only got a couple minutes in this segment, but with Roy Shivers going into the Saskatchewan Roughriders Hall of Fame this week, or at least it was announced this week, he'll go in the fall. He took the Riders only so far. He was like the Dale Talon of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, right? He took over a flipping disaster. I was there and took him only so far to respectability. And we never did host a home playoff game in his time, but we were in the playoffs every year. And we had a lot of Hall of Famers that Roy found as our general manager. But then he got fired, and he's bitter. And despite him going into the Hall of Fame in the Plaza, I think he's still probably bitter. But Whatever. I can't say for him. I don't know. Because we don't talk. But that happened. It was great for a while, and then it turned bad. It always seems to be the way. But before we break, would you not agree you can only go so far? It's not like you did anything wrong at the end. It's not going any further.
No. Everybody has a role. Sometimes you can only do so much, and you need to have the self-awareness to understand that I need a little bit of help. Or like Paul Maurice did in Winnipeg, the buttons I'm pressing aren't having the same results. Doesn't mean he wasn't very instrumental in making the Jets as good as they are. And he's now the guy to take Florida across the finish line.
I can't even believe how hard, or imagine how hard it must have been for Paul Maurice to walk away from Winnipeg, and one day he might talk about it. I don't know. I know he hasn't talked about it since, but he's not a quitter. But when he just goes, hey, this ain't working, I'm out. That doesn't seem to be his way. That tells you how difficult the situation was. Okay, we're done, Moose. Thank you, sir. We'll see you when we see you. How about that?
I'll see you Monday to tee up Game 5.
All right. Ticats alum and author Jason Riley joins us next. We are live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Football Friday continues, and I'm excited for this one, everybody. Before we bring in Jason Riley, I'll tell you, he is my kind of guy. Played in the CFL with the Blue Bombers in 83, the Rough Riders in 84, and then the Hamilton Tiger Cats 84 to 93. CFL All-Star, 4 times divisional, All-Canadian once, but he's an author too. We can bring Jason on now. Author of the book Taming Mad Dog, and I brought this up, Jason. This is why I knew you're my kind of guy. Taming Mad Dog is a book about raw bones football from the trenches, not for the faint of heart. Through passionate stories leading to 3 national football championships, but deeper themes emerging in the book include inclusiveness, bullying prevention, mental health strategies, and spiritual growth. So, namaste, my friend. How are things with you?
Very well, Rod. Very well. I don't know if I can match your energy, though. You're unbelievable.
I had a lot of Tim Hortons, my friend, and we do have a mutual friend in Leo Esrins. But listen, man, we don't have enough time in this interview to talk about your story, but it sounds like a hell of one. What made you want to write a book, and all of that?
Well, philosophically, you make a living telling stories and talking sports, right? And whenever I get together with my my football members of my football fraternity, that's what we do. I hosted last weekend. I hosted our '86 Grey Cup offensive line in my backyard. I smoked a beef brisket I put it on at 4 a.m. in the morning, and smoked it for 14 hours, and fed the boys, and they were all here, and for what? To share stories. Right, so we've been sharing stories for years, and guys have said, you know what, Jason, you should write a book because people want to hear these stories from the trenches, you know. So anyway, my rough draft that I wrote during COVID, starting it at COVID, it took me 3 years to get to the final draft, but it was 500 pages of football stories. Well, life stories to start with, but football stories. Initially intended for, you know, hardcore fans and coaches, and I'm just writing in my normal football lingo, and my editor says to me, you know what, Jason, I'm not a football person, so can you define some terms for me so I know what you're talking about, right? And I thought, oh my God, I got the wrong editor, right? I expected a list of maybe 10 or 12 terms. She sent me 5 pages of terms. It was like writing an essay. That became the appendix. Appendix A in my book is all key terms from the book, so that a neophyte or someone new to football can go to the appendix and get some explanation of the wordage that's used. And people have told me, you know what, I'm a season ticket holder for 20 years, but I read your appendix first, and it really helped me understand the game. You know, because I didn't know where the will linebacker was half the time. Simone Lawrence is my favorite player. He's playing will linebacker, and I didn't know where he was. Now I know they flip sides. They didn't know that the defense flipped sides depending on the hash and field position, stuff like that. So it's been quite a journey. But then she also identified the fact that I was bullied as a child, and she said, rather than just having football as your theme, let's do bullying prevention as a theme, because it obviously had a major impact on you. So she said, please revisit those stories where you were bullied, because I described them, but I didn't tell how I felt at the time. So that was very therapeutic for me. I'm telling you, it opened up like a gusher of emotions, and I didn't realize how much bullying had impacted me until I started writing about it. And it was very therapeutic to write it down, you know, and it expanded on those stories. And then I started realizing how it did impact me, and that football basically, you know, kept me out of jail, because I started fighting because I was bullied, and I was angry, had this internal anger. And, you know, I think of the kids today where they can be bullied 24/7 on social media, right? And I didn't have that. I had a supportive family to go home to after I got bullied as a wee child, because I didn't hit my growth spurt till I was in grade 10. I was, 14, 15 years old, and I grew like a weed. But up until that point, I was bullied incessantly, and it really impacted me. And football was my outlet. So to me, football is the best sport in the world for adolescent young men that have these things going on in their lives, and they can have an outlet for it on the field and not hurt anybody, because the equipment is so good and the training is so good nowadays that, injuries are relatively few. Physically.
Yeah, and then, of course, yeah, well, I know, of course. But then when the career's over and you can't get paid to beat on somebody, what are we going to do then? Because that little guy's still inside that's angry, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, that you grow as you age and you develop and mature as a person. And also you learn to, coping mechanisms. And that's some of the things that I talk about in the book, and I actually, Appendix B, I mean, I learned, for example, meditation. I took, psychology courses and things like that. And just over the course of my educational career and learning and experiences, I put together this program that I used with my players when I coached at McMaster, because I ended up coaching Al Bruno brought me to McMaster to coach his offensive line, and I stayed there for a period of 25 years with a couple of breaks for COVID and other things. But for over a period of 25 years, I coached offensive line at Mac. And that's in the story too, that, with Greg Marshall at the helm, turning that program around. And I developed this program to like a meditation for my players. The last thing we would do before a playoff game is do this relaxation meditation activity that I developed over the years. And I used to do it with my classes. I taught for 30 years after football. I started when I was still playing, but anyway, it was very useful. My students enjoyed it. My players enjoyed it. And it really helped them to calm themselves down and last preparation for a game.
We should do a hot stove together sometime. And I tease Jim Barker about this, but I bring it up like every week. He said he wouldn't draft that J.J. McCarthy guy out of Michigan because he's into that weird meditation stuff. I'm like, I do it multiple times a day, Jim. It's the only reason I'm still roaming this planet is because of that. But Jim kind of represents the people that don't believe in it, Yeah. And we're never maybe gonna get him to see it. I don't know.
I use meditation and visualization my entire career. Like, you get yourself in a mental state and then go through your assignments for the game in a meditative state and visualize yourself being successful. Visualization, we should tell Coach, because we just did the CFL alumni lunch last week in Toronto together, and
saw that, yeah.
Yeah,
it didn't come up, huh?
No, it didn't come up, but it's the second best thing to practicing is actually visualizing yourself doing the activity.
Right, but I can also say this, Jason, is that I'm open-minded enough to say Jim's won 5 Grey Cups. There's nothing to say that what he's doing's wrong, right? I get he's had success in his way, but
he didn't
we have
believe
to
in
do it this way.
either.
Well, yeah, I get it. Listen, we do have to run here, but where can people get your book, Jason? Taming Mad Dogs.
You know what? Lulu.com. Lulu.com, Lulu.com is Bob Young, the owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That's his online publishing company. And Lulu.com, you can get it if you're not in the Hamilton area. If you're in the Hamilton area, the club is very supportive of this project. And it's available in the Tiger Cat store down at Tim Hortons Field as well. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance, because you're in Regina, right? And I played...
Moose Jaw.
You're in Moose
40
Jaw
miles west, but yeah.
Well, you know what? I played for Regina. You mentioned it. I played for Saskatchewan, And I'm one of the few linemen that was traded for a quarterback. You know who I was traded for? This is Stumper. John Huffnagel.
I was just going to say John Huffnagel. It just came into my head. I'm matching up the years. Well, no, listen, I remember the day because he was out at Bob Poley's in Grand Coulee. It's a long story. They were trying all day to get a hold of Huff. It's a longer story than we have now. And he was so rattled when he found out he drove in the wrong way down the Trans-Canada Highway, the wrong lane, because he was so rattled that he was traded. So, yeah. All right, Jason, we do got to roll, but I appreciate this. He just said let's do it again soon. Taming Mad Dog, congratulations on the career and the book.
Thank you very much, and I'd love to come on again and share more football stories with you. Love your enthusiasm.
Outstanding.
Rod.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for all you do. Jason Riley, author of Taming Mad Dog and CFL alum. We'll be back with Overtime right after this, live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
This is your last chance of the week to get at me. This phone goes off over the weekend, 902-518-3033, the Sober Carpenter text line. Phil Thompson writes in and says, good day. Phil is in Dauphin, Manitoba. Good day, good day. It's Friday, he writes. For your poll question, which, by the way, is will the Stanley Cup final end in a sweep? He says, I was hoping for a long series, but a sweep is better. I remember all this talk last season about trading Bobrovsky out of Florida. Where's that crowd now? That's why you can't listen to it. And Bob did have his struggles last year at times in the regular season, but let's not forget he locked it down. He took them all the way to the Stanley Cup last year. This year he was even more dialed in. Sergei Bobrovsky is all that. And above all, he's a fantastic person. I've been around him a ton this season with Florida, and maybe the most popular guy in the locker room, but look around. Like, they love Barkov. They love Sam Reinhart. Look, they love Ekblad. Like, it's culture, man. Not easy to do. Buffalo Bill writes in from North Dakota. He says, of course, another awesome RP show from the golf course. Crosby, North Dakota Country Club. Enjoy the weekend, RP peeps. You too, Buffalo Bill, and stay safe.
Hell yes.
How about this? I'll skip the Stanley Cup final story in the sports update because you all know that. And by the way, okay, let me just say this. For the Panthers show, I find this quite interesting because things are morphing now. We got Florida people writing into rodpeterson.com. They're watching this show. We have our viewers now following Panthers stuff and all the rest. It's good, but I didn't plan it. Trust me, I did not plan it. But somebody, one of the Panthers fans said, what do you want, Rod? Do you want this to end in a sweep? What's better for the Panthers? Or come home and win it on home ice in a 5th or a 7th game? And I'm like, no, lock it down. This is what I said in the Cats and Bolts podcast. You want to win it. You want to get it over with for 2 reasons. Reason one, you want to get it over with. But number 2, I related this to the Rough Riders. If they win in Edmonton Saturday night in a sweep, then they can come back next year and say, okay, here's our goal now to win it at home, because we've never won it at home. Because in 2013, with the Rough Riders, when we won the Grey Cup at home, it was like, what are we going to do now? We won it at home, in the greatest day in Rough Riders Saskatchewan history. Now what? And then, as I said to Jim Hobson when we talked about this, after he was gone as president, I said, how does it get better, Jim? And he goes, back-to-back Grey Cups. That's the only way that they could get better. And they're a long ways away from doing that, last I saw. So to the sports update, I have one thing. NFL, Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have agreed to a 5-year, $275 million contract extension that makes him one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in NFL history. Lawrence's deal averages $55 million, ties him with Cincinnati's Joe Burrow for the most ever. Is he worth it? Don't matter now. The ink's dry. Tonight, what do we got? Blue Jays home to Cleveland. Western Canadian Baseball League. Medicine Hat Mavericks are at Regina. These Moose Jaw Millers. We're going to go down to Weyburn and have our way with them. Saskatoon at Swift Current. Fort McMurray at Brooks. Edmonton at Okotoks. Lethbridge at Sylvan Lake. In the NBA, Boston can sweep the NBA Finals with a win at Dallas. Canadian Elite Basketball League tonight. Edmonton is at Calgary. And in the Canadian Football League, Montreal is at Edmonton. I laugh because I picked the Elks to win because I just had this feeling, and Jim Barker pretty much talked me out of that. I will not try to match wits football-wise with Jim Barker. Mental health, different story. Football, But I'm still going to pick Edmonton. Wouldn't that be something if I was right? Sports Updates brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Jim and I are 2 of them. Check out their, well, he might be elite. I'm not. Check out their website for more information, emjmarketing.com. Also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. in Landmark Cinema is now playing Bad Boys, Ride or Die. This summer, the world's favorite bad boys are back with their iconic mix of edge-of-your-seat action and outrageous comedy, but this time with a twist. Miami's finest are now on the run. Now playing Bad Boys, Ride or Die, starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Might as well throw this one into, well, hey, Overtime is always brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Watch for their rolling exhibits around Calgary this summer, Overtime Hockey Lanes, and check them out. Their website, overtimehl.ca. Same thing on Twitter and Instagram. And Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. It looks like just a fantabulous sports weekend ahead, so stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the sports. And support our sponsors if you don't mind keeping us all in business here on the RP Show. Thank you to Jason Riley and the wonderful things that he's doing. Pick up a copy of his book, Taming Mad Dog, especially if you're in the Hamilton area, selling it in the Tycat store. You can also order it online at Amazon. Jason Riley's Taming Mad Dog. Thanks to Coach Barker. We'll agree one of these days. And we'll see you Monday here on the RP Show on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?